there's new cars out there.
And they will take care of that.
Yeah, but in that curve, that's where, there's a lot of
Yeah, right
traffic
in that
right
little-
there.
right in that
There's a
little
lot of traffic
half
right there.
mile.
Yeah,
Right,
there's a lot of traffic because of the football player that used to live there.
Yeah.
Now, it's open, but you still have people who park there,
And go somewhere.
they go to the front of Appaloosa Mill Court, or go
Right,
to the front,
right.
because there's a party going over there, so they come around and take up our parking spaces, and then we're like, where do our kids park?
Right, and the best way to handle that is probably to tag a vehicle. So everyone will get 2 or 3 decals, and then we'll just start telling, which will be ugly. Because the only other, the only other way to make that work is to notify your neighbors that you're going to be parking, and that if there's an issue with a car blocking. But the bigger thing is, I'm not saying you can't have guests, but you have to basically make amends so that if somebody else needs to get out, they can't back out of the driveway because there's a car in the street in the way. That's the big issue. And you really don't want to, and there's a lot of people that aren't content with just like, I don't want a neighbor, and I don't want to ring the doorbell. It's like, yeah, but you can't. And I'd have an issue if they gave you a lot of looks. Like, you're violating this, and you're giving a look because they actually moved the car. Move the damn car. And that's what, that's where we're at right now. I don't have a good solution. I can tell you this, though. Get back to Viber Way. You live in Georgia. You saw the house when you bought it. You looked at the situation, because people are telling you, well, why your grandson? Did you come into the neighborhood? Did you take a good look around? Grounds aren't the most pristine. Did you get your house from a bank? You got a good value. It ain't great. But the bottom line is, that's why life ain't that good. And you could have asked for all that information. That's public information as far as, the state of the condition of the association. So that's the Viber Way. That's how life is. So, the guy's got the big truck, he can't get in the garage. Yeah, but that's not my problem. That's not the board's problem. That's your issue. I go, trade the truck in, get the little, the MG, put that in the garage. Hell, you can get 2 in the garage, then we're all good to go. And that's not how life is. That is how things can get. Same thing with having extra guests. I understand that, but I would basically say, if you like to entertain, you got to do it somewhere else, because we're not in a position to be able to accommodate, the neighborhood cannot accommodate multi-vehicles and multi-dwellings. Can't even accommodate multi-vehicles and
guests. We could have guests if people would use their garage instead of parking.
I think that would be true, but I don't know that. And that's the thing. That's why we have to do an inventory of the vehicles to try and get that. And again, once they build out, it's going to be a nightmare. Once all the buildings on Appaloosa Mill Circle are built out, I'm not even sure how that's going to work.
So how do we keep the apartment complex people from tracking through our neighbors, through our property, going to their apartment complex here and wearing out the grass, standing in your backyard? How do we keep them from doing that? How do we keep them from going?
It's hard to do.
You know what I do? I spent probably 2 months,
Especially after your house got tagged.
I was over back there, every night after work I'd drive by, and I'd call the police. I'd wait there for the police to get there, and they had to have a conversation with kid after kid after kid. And it got better, but you have to stay on it, and it's,
They
have
should
a
just put up a
conversation with kids.
fence.
Farm Smith Complex.
Why don't you just put up a fence?
You can.
I mean, that's a really simple solution, and I priced lots of different fences. It's not that expensive. They could put up a fence, and the expense could be shared with the other apartment complex on the side, because you're stopping people from trekking to them, you're stopping people from trekking over here,
And that's weird, and that's funny that you said it, because my mom was here for Thanksgiving, and I'm upstairs on the 3rd floor, and I'm looking down like, who is this guy in the back of the property with something, a clipboard and survey? I just wanted to know, the apartment complex is trying to get something done so they can keep the people all off our property. Were you guys aware of that?
No.
I sent letters to them, and I called the fence person to come out, and so I could create the documents of exactly,
She was saying that,
and they measured it, and they gave me some price quotes, but I figured it wasn't going anywhere, so I just let it ride.
Thanksgiving, looking and want to know, I said, well, you have to, it's CMA, you have to contact the person manager. He wants to know what can we do in the apartment complex to keep the kids and put up the bed and do that little area so we can have more
What
happy.
area specifically are we talking about?
Where it comes, when you come out of the curve of Appaloosa Mill Circle, when you come out of the curve, they shoot across.
Right behind that same vacant lot, the whole length, all the way to the,
Grass growing up, that word, weed.
That's where they cut through.
There's
They
an
just
apartment
back and
complex
forth
actually right
behind
behind
us.
it.
It's this apartment complex that's over here by Day here.
Okay.
There's two apartment complexes, and we're kind of sandwiched in the middle of them.
And they just
And they just cut right across.
Right.
And where would this would come on the back?
yeah, it would go from the swamp all the way to the end of behind Appaloosa Mill Circle.
Right.
All the way to the, it's the only way to do it because they're cutting through in like 3 different places. So if you only put the little piece behind 1950, they're still gonna come to the front, closer to the water is, right? Or they're gonna go all the way back behind where the football player used to live. But you could take it from end to end there, and it was like, the cheapest fence, which was just the plain silver wire one, was going to be approximately about $1,000 to do it. It was probably a little less than that. But then there was one a little higher, one that was like $3,000 was the max one. That was I have
Like a
the
black one, like a black?
to match the other stuff.
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
a little bit higher. They're
I
in
would
the
be afraid to
same.
put a wood fence back there because that would create a hiding spot back
Right,
there for those kids. and
right.
That's all they need. Because that's, when I would do my drive-bys back there and call the police, there was always somewhere that you couldn't see them. You had to get out of your car, you had to move.
Mhm.
And I always just stood there for the police waiting for us. All right, just go behind that corner, you'll see them. And sure enough, they go behind the corner.
Right.
So,
I was trying to tell them to put barbed wire, but people said that was
we could do
that
that
might
black
hurt a
fence.
little bit much, but I like put barbed wire up there. That'll stop them.
Good.
Now, you know that they're willing to work with the CMA, the apartment complex is willing, because they were out there with like, who do we contact? And I said, contact CMA for the reserve to Ivy Creek,
What's the name of that apartment complex?
right?
This is the other one.
She never responded though. I went over there in person twice. I sent her numerous emails. She never responded to me.
And it's
That's
behind me.
what's the name of it?
Daycare.
Yeah, I forget the name of it. This is not the book I was looking
They're
at.
not tied together. This apartment complex.
I can forward you the emails that I.
All right. What else we got? Parking?
Let me ask you, on the outside of the building, as far as the paint,
Color, yeah.
we can paint.
Yeah, well, you have to submit, and you have to paint the same color, but yeah, you can paint. Your maintenance obligation is, the maintenance obligation on the building's falls to you.
Yeah, that's one, certain communities, if you read the covenant, certain communities in Georgia fall under, and this is one thing that my wife and I, when we were buying, we were looking at one community that did, and just based on location and quality of the unit, we ended up here. But different communities are just based on the covenants, whether the association and the HOA covers maintenance.
Yeah.
And typically you're paying about twice as much a month for it's more like a condo. And then this community it's homeowner, the maintenance is provided by the homeowner. Insurance is provided, so we actually have to go and buy your own insurance to supply, or if you got a mortgage, you have to buy
For the
your
building,
own,
yeah.
you have to buy your own insurance. It's one of the differences. Certain
It's
towns.
usually not that way.
No, there's the one over in Swanee is that way, the one over.
Insurance usually covers the association, but not this case.
Yeah, there's, the one over off Gravel Spring is that way, the one off Old Peachtree. There's probably 4 or 5, maybe even 6 townhouse communities in this general area that are all like that. Because when my wife and I were looking to buy one, we toured them all. The only ones that provide like everything, like a condo, were over by like Peachtree Industrial and Duluth, and we just decided traffic was too much and just try to
Okay,
see
now
much
that you mentioned that, the question where I'm going with this is, I deliver mail to CMA homeowners for Average Bridge, and for the summer, they were painting their stuff all galore, and then, CMA runs theirs too. Is that the reason, because is that the way?
Because the documents.
The documents
it's
that's in
saying
that.
that there's a maintenance obligation at the association for those. I've got a complex called Village Grove off Swanee Dam Road, and there's 3 neighborhoods within the complex, and only one of them we have a maintenance obligation to paint the exterior. And it's the same situation. When there's money, we paint a few buildings. Got people yelling at me every other week, when are you going to do money, when are you going to do money? And the the other funny thing about that is, the entryways to those buildings are the responsibility of the homeowner. When we do a whole paint project, we'll paint the railing going up and the doors and stuff. But if it was any time after that or whatever, it'd be the owner's responsibility to repair that stairway or that stuff.
Now,
And he could be cited.
Is that my responsibility by my own pine straw too?
No.
Because I bought it twice, for the winter and the spring, and then here it is, I gotta go buy it now, just to, to put it down.
Well, we're gonna do it, no, the board is gonna do it, I just haven't told you. They're gonna do it in the next couple of weeks.
Oh.
So we're gonna do an application and tighten up the whole property.
They don't have any contact. It was extremely difficult for me to find out who did the buildings, because these bricks are like custom done. They're not just your straight up brick off the street, that you can just go. So when that graffiti job happened to me and having to get it removed, it was horrible to try to find somebody who could come back and match the type of brick that I have. It was probably the worst part about the whole thing, besides having to pay for it, It was extremely difficult. I had to research all the way back to an original builder to find out where they got the brick from, and et cetera, and finally found somebody who did what's called staining of those bricks to match it back up, which is also a custom job too. So, I mean, it would be nice if the CMA had that level of information, so that if we're responsible when something like that happens, I mean, if these buildings are so new, I can't understand why they didn't know the builders.
To answer your question, we don't have that level of information. That's not an association responsibility. What we're...
Nothing is association responsibility, though. Really, seriously.
Don't get me wrong, it would be an added benefit, but the bottom line is, there's
Simple
many
stuff.
times when I get a call that it's not something the association deals with. Some neighbor-to-neighbor stuff we don't get involved